There we go. So I'm not sure where we left off, but basically I was saying that when you were horseback riding, getting out of the routine of what you were doing, whether you were sitting at your desk, and it broke the routine. It broke that sort of that trance of habit, in the moment. And that's part of what you do in your work as an intuitive psychotherapist. And could you expand a little bit on the intuitive side of that?
That's a hard one, because that's sort of in that sort of essence that doesn't have words. I don't know how it works. When I sit down with somebody, it's not just me and them. There's this other presence, and there are things that happen in a therapy room or on a retreat or in a workshop that I can't say had anything to do with me. It's like it comes through me. I'm the vessel. My work is to stay clear and open, and whatever moves through, and then to trust sort of whatever kind of energy or what knowing or what intuitive sense I have in terms of what direction to go, where to go. And it can be something as simple as calling somebody on their alcoholism, for example. So it can be a very concrete of just this knowing on a dime. We could be going in one direction, and all of a sudden I'll just have this sense, what's happening with drinking. Tell me about your drink. And it's just, it's almost like somebody, the other person's higher self just knocked on the door and said, could I speak to you for a moment? Yeah. There's something she needs to be working with right now. And here it is. And I can't tell you how many times things like that have happened, to just how I work with people in terms of knowing whether to be really provocative. I mean, I can be a bulldozer. I can be a bull in a china shop, or I can be, just holding an energy and be softness incarnate. So sort of the intuitive part just comes. So that's one piece of the intuitive part. The other part is I read energy really well. I know things I shouldn't know. It gets me into all kinds of trouble in my personal life. Yeah. It's really, really great in my clinical, in my work. But I know things. I used to not be able to be in groups, because I would walk into a group and it's like I would know, I would see the heartbreak, I would feel, and I'm more of an empath, so I would feel it. Yeah. So it took many, many, many years, and still sometimes I struggle with it, but I'm way better. But there used to be a time where I just couldn't. It just was too, it's like everybody's radio turned on sky high, and then I'm feeling it.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. I can identify, and I have a lot of similarity to you in that regard. What was your birth month?
Scorpio.
Okay.
I have October.
Okay. So that's in the water realm. They can be highly intuitive. So that makes sense, and absorb. So the other thing you were talking about in your clinical work, what came to mind is the art of listening. And, that's our dogs, for instance, they understand some of our words, but most of them, they don't actually understand the words. What they're keying in on is our body language and our signals, that we put out that we may not even be aware of, that they're tuning into. So similarly, as a coach, a psychotherapist, counselor, mentor, when you're listening, or even a friend or loved one, when you're listening deeply, without an agenda, or without a map, without a system of exactly a formulaic system of what that person should do, and what should happen in this session, how it should unfold according to script in order to accomplish X, Y, and Z, then are you able to truly tune into and listen on multiple levels what it is that they're saying and what it is that they're not saying, but they're thinking, feeling that they may not even be tuned into because of that trance factor?
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I don't think you can walk, well, I suppose you could, but as a therapist, as a healer, I can't walk in knowing what's going to happen. I mean, I can't. And I'm trying to think whether I ever, probably when I was a grad student, I can remember working with kids at one point and sort of having in my head sort of where I wanted things to go. But that dies really fast, because it just doesn't go that way ever. So it's sort of this petri dish. I mean, it's kind of lucky in a way, because it also then helped to sort of bring that into my personal life. Like, it doesn't matter what you plan X, Y, and Z, and then it's Q, P, and W.
Yeah.
So at some point, it's just kind of, the best that I can do is really show up and see where it is that it wants to go and absolutely be in the moment. And my work has definitely helped my life. I mean, I can be in a really, really foul mood and have a session, and the foul mood is gone.
Yes.
Because the second I sit down in my seat, or if I'm on a retreat and I'm standing or walking or whatever, it's like there's just this shift, and it's on a dime, and it's pretty cool. I'm lucky.
It's perfect. It makes so much sense, because the deal is, the shift is our soul is never in a foul mood.
Right.
So when we're in a foul mood, then we're disconnected from our authentic self, back to your terminology.
Yep.
So when we go to serve someone, that is the authentic self of all of us. It's about connecting and elevating others. And so when we get into the flow to do that, then immediately we've sidestepped that roadblock, that whatever that was happening, that was getting stuck, we were getting in our own way.
Yep. Completely. So, and that's basically what I help people figure out for them, figure out what works. What is that list of things that help go around, over, under, through, whatever roadblocks are coming up.
Right. So, and that's what, as you and I know, that's what the role that coaches and therapists and mentors can serve, and do serve. Oftentimes, coaches and therapists have their own coaches and therapists. Do you have a coach and therapist?
Oh, I have a gazillion. Always have. Okay. I learn from everything. I am a student of everything.
Yes.
Of everything.
Totally.
I am a student of the water faucet in my bathroom. I mean, I am a student.
Yeah.
And I'm constantly learning. And I have teachers and guides in this physical world, off this physical world. Again, it's sort of like the exercise. It moves around. Sometimes it's very concrete people. Sometimes it's therapists. Sometimes it's coaches. Sometimes it's spiritual guy. I mean, it goes all over. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I totally agree. And we can do it for ourselves, but it really helps to have that outside perspective, because we can never completely see ourselves as others are able to.
Right.
And I think and from my experience in the past, I also think that we should never assume that what others feed us is absolutely it.
Right.
We have to make sure that it resonates with our own sense of self and what is. And we have to be careful there, because we may think it doesn't resonate because we don't like the message, because we don't want to hear it. But I think even then we have to go deeper with that and be, seek out being brutally honest with ourselves in order to identify which it is.
Yeah. And I think anything that ultimately, any change and any transformation ultimately is an experiential process.
Sure.
So when I'm working with clients, it doesn't really matter what we're talking about. My job is to create an experience, is to help invite somebody into some kind of experiential work, because, and this is backed up now by studies that are coming out about trauma and change. Thoughts and ideas do not change us. So unless there's a thought and an idea that comes in that then invites us to do something different in our daily lives, nothing's going to happen.
Right.
So if somebody outside is suggesting something, there's got to be something that then there's an action, there's an experience, there's something that needs to change. So it can be provocative in that I'm saying, no, that doesn't fit. But I think ultimately it doesn't matter, because it almost will write itself, because it can't just be in the mind. Does that make sense? Like it's got to come out. And it's the same thing that you're talking about sort of with physicality, and the power of physicality, and the power of workouts, and the power of, 10 squats first thing in the morning, and the getting in body and shifting is more powerful than 17 hours of talk therapy. It doesn't work.
Absolutely.
It doesn't work.
That is so important. Could you just repeat what you said about, yeah. Well, it doesn't have to be the exact words, but just the concept, because that's such an important concept. I want to make sure that that's emphasized, having to do with physicality and shifting our state by shifting our physicality.
Yeah. Well, and what's coming out sort of scientifically and in the research, we're doing a lot of brain scans. And what we're finding is that brains get stuck. And in order for brain chemistry to shift, which then means that we're shifting, there has to be action. So 17 hours of talk therapy is useless if nothing's going to happen. So people can spend years and years and years and years in therapy doing diddly squat. If I can't provoke, help, entice, create somehow an experience for somebody, something that makes them move their body differently, something that makes them think something differently that then makes an action that's different, something that basically is going to be translated physically, then there's not any change. The physicality is huge,
right?
Huge. I saw, actually, let me share a video I saw not long ago. This is Bessel van der Kolk is a leading MD in the field of trauma. And I was recently at a training of his, and he was sharing a video of, it was actually a little boy who was in occupational therapy and his mother. And this was a low-income inner-city family. And the occupational therapist is playing with the little boy, and the mother comes in. The mother comes into this room. She is misery incarnate. She's complaining about the bus. She's complaining about it's been a really hard week. She does not make eye contact with her son. I mean, it's heartbreaking. All the therapist did was throw the ball to her. And then she threw the ball back to the occupational therapist. The ball went back 2 or 3 times. It went to the little boy. Within, I don't even think it was a full minute, this woman's face was lit up. She was smiling. She was playing. She was engaged. She was playing with the little boy. Now, is that where we stop? No. This is a mother who has trauma, miles of trauma behind her that need to be processed and healed. But now, once she's in this place, if I were her therapist, if she had come to me in the first place, nothing would have happened. When she comes to therapy from the second place, she's open and we can do some work.
Right.
So there's something about physicality, there's something about play, there's something about getting back in our embodying that then allows us to do whatever work it is that we have to do.
And we all know the concept of, a definition of insanity is doing the same thing, expecting different results.
Yeah.
Yet, it's so many of these sayings that we all repeat have deep wisdom that we kind of take for granted. We say the saying because it sounds pat, and we've been hearing it all our lives, but we don't say meaning, and we don't implement it. So doing the same thing and expecting different results could include in our lives as well. So if our life is not working as we want it to, then chances are we need to do something different. And that could be as simple as talking to someone, making a call, picking up a book. What changes my state every morning, in addition to the squats, instead I get out of the shower while I'm getting ready, I tune into either audiobooks or more recently podcasts, because when I discovered the world of podcasts, tremendous amounts of fantastic people giving wisdom away for free and information away for free. By the time I commute from my bedroom to bathroom to kitchen to my chair with my laptop, I am so charged up and fired up and ready to go, because it's like it has helped me to shift into the frame of mind that I want to be in, which is a productive, creative, contributing, learning human being. Yeah.
And that's those habits. I mean, you were asking, at the beginning, what is the first thing that you do with people? Habits are huge. And they've got to be physical, and they've got to be doing, and they've got to be repetitive. So you were talking about the person that you and your husband like, who sits down and does the 4 hours of writing every morning. And it doesn't have to be that drastic. It does have to be that drastic for some people, but the repetition and the habit, and you're talking about every morning, I da-da-da-da-da. And and then I da-da-da-da-da. And that is so powerful. It becomes this well-worn path, where it's like, this is where I go and this is where it leads. And it's soothing and it's familiar, and it takes you to the same, it's like you go through the woods and you come out in this beautiful little cottage that has creativity and energy and teaching and learning and all those things that you love and cherish. I mean, so, so powerful.
Absolutely. In fact, when you were talking about the young mother in the ball
Yeah.
scenario
Yeah.
and all the baggage that she had in the past,
Yeah.
sometimes a lot of that is just our habit or habitual conditioning from our
Yeah.
environment, from our parents and the people in our environment. I was thinking about that just this morning, how often when people turn 30 and then 40s, and that's when they start saying, I remember when I did, start saying something like, I must be getting old. The first time we have a hard time getting up from our chair, I must be getting old.
Yeah.
And really it isn't about age. It has to do with state of physicality. Are you caring for your body? Are you exercising it? Are you, strengthening your muscles? Because they can't do it without you. So it isn't about the condition. That's back to the conditioning. So then it's stepping aside from that conditioning, and we all have that far more than we realize. And that's back to the awareness and invoking consciousness, is essentially mindfulness into all that we do.
Yeah. And the relationship with yourself. So you're talking about the physicality piece, and that piece is huge, of just really tending to yourself and taking care of yourself. And I would add to that also sort of the relationship that you're having with yourself, and how are you talking to yourself, and what does that relationship look like, and that it's one that's constantly being tended to, and that it's being tended to from both sides. It's being tended to where we're getting to a point where we're realizing sort of when we're just saying garbage to ourselves that needs to stop immediately because it's just not necessary. Comments like, you're getting old, like, really shut up. Like, that is not not helpful. That's not how we talk in our family. Like, let's come up with something different. Versus when it's a sign that there's really something inside, like that woman, and all of us do have issues and pieces of work that we need to do that help us sort of transform. So it's kind of this from both, from the light side and also from the deeper side, and coming to a place, and from the physicality and the non-physical, it's like all these sort of polarity, it's sort of like it holds them together.
Absolutely. Back to the orchestra, because it's not, if it was one instrument, it wouldn't be an orchestra, it wouldn't be a symphony. It's the whole thing blended together, working together. And when one instrument is out of tune, then it can affect the whole thing.
The whole thing, yeah. And intuition, I think, is huge, and I forget what or higher self, you used a different word. Was it higher power?
I don't remember.
Divine power or something. But sort of that non-physical part of ourselves. I mean, I think that we're starving in America and in most developed nations, because we are disconnected from sort of that spiritual path, whatever that looks like. I don't even care what it looks like, whether it's Jesus, whether it's Allah, whether it's Yoda. I mean, but the sense that there is something outside of ourselves that there's knowledge, and that we can invite that in. And not only is it outside of ourselves, it is ourselves. Yes. So there's this wonderful story. Do you know Jean Houston?
Yes, so I know of her.
So she has her father used to write screenplays out in Hollywood, and Charlie McCarthy, in The Puppet, I'm messing up the names. Oh, it's Charlie. Who was the guy who had the
hand puppet?
He was a ventriloquist. It was, I don't know. I'm probably messing this up, but anyway,
we'll find it. We'll put it in the article that accompanies the video. So
okay. And he's, I'll look it up. And it's like this puppet, and he has a big red smile. And anyway, Jean and her father came in one day, and they saw him talking. And Jean was about 9 years old, and Jean tells his story, and she's like, I'm hearing him talking, and he's asking he has back to them, and he's asking the puppet, well, so what do you think? What do you think is the meaning of life? And he's asking all these like enormous, deep questions, the $1 million questions, and this little puppet is answering, so on some level, and Jean's father said, what are you doing? And I think I think Charlie McCarthy is the puppet. Anyway, the human being turned around and said, well, I don't know. I ask him questions, and he just tells me the darndest things. He's like, and obviously, it's him. He's doing the voice for the puppet. But it's sort of that sense of whatever it is that allows us to mirror back our own wisdom. And whether that's through God or Jesus or a puppet, it doesn't matter. But I think when people don't have that sort of broader connection to non-physical, life gets very dried up and pruny and not interesting and scary.
Yeah.
Very scary and small and not fun.
That makes so much sense. And that reminds me, I'm trying to find the name. Are you familiar with the book, The Artist's Way?
Oh, gosh, yes.
Okay. I was trying to remember that lady's, the author's name, Julia Cameron. Julia Cameron.
Julia Cameron.
Yeah, it reminded me of that when you were talking, and the exercises that she has that help basically, one of her quotes, actually, that's what it was reminding me of, something along the lines of, creativity is the closest that humanity or humans can get to godliness. Yeah. And it has to do with the fact that we are becoming creators, back to, your conductor analogy. And that is that, but we are conducting the orchestra of our life that we also created. We employed each of those musicians. We decided what instruments would be in the orchestra, and we decided what symphony to play. Either it happened while we were kind of on autopilot and we don't like the sound, or we begin to consciously create it to become the fine-tuned sound that we love, which is where your work comes in. And I wanted to mention that you have another book, Plug Yourself In, your Something to Happiness. I'm not saying, here we go.
It's Plug Yourself Into the Frequency of Happiness.
Sorry, I wasn't seeing the title there. Well, okay, so I see it. Into the Frequency of Happiness, book and CD. So you also, did that book come after?
Yeah, it came after.
Okay. So, and you also have accompanying CD, maybe it's a CD book, but you also have meditations.
Yes, I have guided meditations, I have CDs, I have programs, I have books, I have audiobooks, and there's more to come.
Okay,
awesome. It's just getting started.
Absolutely.
And it's sort of like figuring out, and the fun thing about this age, the fun thing about sort of our age, it's sort of this sense of, and I don't have to do any of it. Like there used to be this drive, right? There used to be,
I'm so sorry.
Okay, that was hysterical. All of a sudden a big thing came up that said, you are now the host. I'm like, what do you mean you are now the host, Leora?
That's funny. I've never heard that before. It's never quite.
You are now the host. You are driving the mothership. We're crashing.
We left off where you were talking about this. Oh shoot! I just had it and I lost it.
It's gone.
The drive. We were talking about the drive.
Oh, right. That's the delicious thing I think about being in your 50s, heading for 60s. I don't care.
Yeah.
Truly. Like I love the work I do. I adore it. And so that piece is just taken care of. And I am like the luckiest person on the planet, truly. I mean, I meet with people I love. I watch transformation. Obviously, it has ups and downs, but it's awesome. Yeah. But then the whole balloon to the moon piece has become this kind of, I don't need it. It's sort of in this department of, wouldn't it be fun if? And so I'm in this place right now, and actually I'm getting ready to reactivate one of my old programs, which is 8 Weeks to Abundance and Happiness, which is it's ridiculous. It's got like 112 morning and evening meditation recordings. It has 16, I think, coaching. It's like this mega program. So I'm having fun with that. But the whole thing is just this sense of, I don't have to. I could go ride a book. I could go ride a bike in the woods. And so there's something about that level of freedom. Yeah. I think when we're older and we're sort of driven by how juicy is this moment, there's just not, I don't know, there's just a different, I don't know how to explain it. It's just a different, it's kind of nice.
Absolutely.
Like nothing to prove.
Yeah. Nothing to prove.
Nothing to prove.
Now we have, I was going to say full permission to be who we really are. And yet I hesitated using full permission just because we didn't really need that permission in the first place, other than from ourselves. Yeah. We needed it from ourselves, and we needed to be okay with other people not liking what we're doing, not liking what we're doing, not approving of us, not accepting it. And if they don't belong in our lives anyway.
Yeah.
So it's at that place where it's like you said, we're greedy or selfish about our time.
Yeah.
And that time includes, I'm going to fill it with who I really am and what's really important to me, because otherwise I'm doing a disservice to myself and to others.
Doesn't make any sense. Well, it just doesn't make any sense.
Right.
And then we really do start aging. We don't feel good. We feel awful. We don't want to get out of bed. We don't, life gets very, very, very small.
Yeah.
And we see that in people in their 50s and 60s. I mean, some people's lives get very, very, very small.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you, I don't want to be cognizant of your time, so I'd like to begin to close now, but with a couple questions.
Yeah.
2 or 3 maybe. One is, do you have any children?
I do. I have a daughter named Sophie who's now 21, which is shocking.
I know. My daughter's 20. That's awesome.
Huh?
My daughter was 20, so that's close.
20. Okay. Yeah, she was adopted from China.
Oh, my daughter was adopted from India.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Sophie came from China. Yeah. And she's actually living in DC this summer and working, which is pretty cool. And she's at school. She'll be doing her senior year.
Awesome.
So,
wonderful.
One of my greatest teachers.
Yes. Yeah. They often are. And where we begin to learn about where we are connected with our truth and when we're not. When we're just doing lip service versus when we're living it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Just like we hold them accountable as parents, the fact of their existence helps to hold us accountable to who we say we think we are and want to be, basically.
Exactly.
So, and your program, so let me know when you're going to be launching your program, and we'll give another shout out, and we'll post it with the interview and the article, definitely. And let's see, so what are your, you could either share what your favorite all-time books are, or just share what you're reading now, whichever you like, 1 or 2 books that you really love.
Wow. What I'm reading right now is a book on Da Vinci. I can never answer the what's your favorite book. I just can't. For 2 reasons, and I'll be completely transparently honest. I can't remember them.
Yeah.
So I have this wonderful app now. It's called Book Crawler, and it will keep track of your books with a little picture, and you can write little notes about it.
Nice.
So anyway, so I love that. So So what I'm reading right now is a book on Da Vinci, which I absolutely love. I'm reading a book on collages because I came across